She's probably a prostitute. My mother's voice echoed through the emergency room waiting area, loud enough that every head turned toward us. The woman I hadn't seen in 12 years stood there in her designer pantsuit, pointing at my ripped jeans and tank top like they were evidence in a criminal trial. How do you explain to your own mother that the bruises on your face are from a pimp, but from a classified mission you can't discuss? My name is Lieutenant Commander Victoria Hayes. I'm 38 years old, and ID just returned from 72 hours in the South China Sea coordinating a naval intelligence operation that would never make the news. Look at her, my mother continued, addressing the triage nurse like I wasn't standing right there. Bruised, disheveled, wearing clothes that cost $5. My daughter was supposed to be something. She had potential. And now this. My younger sister Emma stood beside her, arms crossed, nodding in agreement. Mom's right, Tori. We haven't heard from you in years. You won't tell us where you live, what you do, or who you're with. What else are we supposed to think? I'd come to St. Augustine Memorial because Emma had texted me that our father had collapsed. Heart attack, critical condition. Even with my security clearance and the operational secrecy that had defined my adult life, I couldn't ignore that. So I'd come straight from the airfield, still wearing the civilian clothes I'd thrown on after debriefing. My face still bearing the evidence of an extraction that had gone slightly sideways. The nurse behind the desk looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, perhaps we should discuss this somewhere more private. Private. My mother laughed, sharp and bitter. Why? So she can spin more lies about her life. I'm done protecting her reputation. Clearly, she's done nothing to protect it herself. I stayed silent. 12 years of naval intelligence had taught me that sometimes the best response is no response. Let people reveal themselves completely before you show your hand. Your father is in intensive care, Emma said, her voice dripping with judgment. And you show up looking like you just crawled out of some cheap motel. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? The irony was suffocating. I'd spent the last decade protecting people like them comfortable, safe, blissfully unaware of the threats that existed beyond their suburban bubble. I'd coordinated drone strikes against terrorist cells. I'd interrogated enemy combatants. I'd spent 6 months undercover in Eastern Europe tracking weapons, smuggling routes, and they thought I was selling my body for money. She won't even defend herself, my mother said to the nurse. That's how far she's fallen. No shame left. A man in the corner cleared his throat. He'd been sitting there the whole time, wearing casual clothes jeans and a polo shirt, but something about his posture screamed military. I'd noticed him immediately when I walked in. The way you notice things when situational awareness has been drilled into you for over a decade. Excuse me, he said, standing up. I couldn't help but overhear. This is a family matter, my mother snapped. I understand, ma'am, but I think there might be some confusion. He walked toward us and I caught the slight bulge of a concealed weapon at his hip. Miss, can I see some identification? My mother looked triumphant. Yes, please. Let's see what name she's using these days. I reached slowly into my jacket pocket, the movement deliberate. Professional, and pulled out my military ID. Not the one I showed at the gate of the naval base. The other one. The one that had additional clearance codes. The man's eyes widened slightly. He was military, I was certain now. Probably Marines, based on the bearing. He nodded once, sharp and respectful. Ma'am. The sir had changed to ma'am in a way that meant something. What is that? Emma tried to grab the ID from his hand. Let me see. The emergency room doors burst open. 3 men in dress uniforms walked in navy whites, crisp and formal, completely out of place in a civilian hospital. The lead officer was a captain, his chest decorated with ribbons that told a story of decades in service. We're looking for Lieutenant Commander Hayes, he said, his voice carrying authority that made everyone in the waiting room straighten instinctively. My mother's face went pale. Lieutenant Commander. Where is she? The captain scanned the room. His eyes landed on me. There you are. Ma'am, we have a situation. The Admiral needs you immediately. I stood, my body automatically shifting into military bearing despite the civilian clothes and the bruises. Sir, the Pentagon's been trying to reach you for the last 30 minutes. Your phone's been off. I was in a hospital, sir. Medical emergency. He nodded, understanding. I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is urgent. We have a developing situation in the Taiwan Strait. You're the only officer with the necessary intelligence background on this particular asset network. The Admiral is convening a crisis team, and you're needed in the operations center within the hour. My mother made a small sound, like air escaping from a balloon. Additionally, the captain continued, pulling an envelope from his jacket. These came through this morning. Official notification of your promotion. He handed me the envelope. Congratulations, Captain Hayes. Well deserved. The world seemed to tilt. Emma grabbed the back of a chair for support. Captain. My mother's voice came out as a whisper. I took the envelope, keeping my expression neutral despite the surge of emotion. 12 years of sacrifices, of missed birthdays and holidays, of letting my family believe the worst about me because the truth was classified above their clearance level. 12 years that had just been validated in the most public way possible. There's one more thing, the captain said. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through something, then showed me the screen. The Admiral wanted me to show you this. It's an official commendation from the Joint Chiefs. What you accomplished in the South China Sea this week prevented a potential international incident. The preliminary assessment suggests your intelligence work may have prevented an armed conflict. He turned the phone so my mother and sister could see the screen. The official Department of Defense letterhead was unmistakable. My mother's designer handbag slipped from her fingers and hit the floor with a thud. I apologize for interrupting your family time, Captain Hayes, the officer said, but we have a car waiting outside. If you need a few minutes, I need to see my father first, I said quietly. 5 minutes. Of course, ma'am. We'll wait. As the officers stepped back, I turned to face my mother and sister. The emergency room had gone completely silent. Even the patients waiting for treatment were watching this scene unfold. 12 years, I said, my voice steady despite everything. 12 years I've been serving in naval intelligence. I couldn't tell you because the nature of my work required complete operational security. Every mission I've taken, every assignment I've accepted, put me in situations where people knowing my real identity could cost lives. Emma's eyes were filling with tears. But you let us think. I let you think I was a failure because that was safer than you knowing the truth. The people I hunt, the organizations I dismantle, they go after families. They kidnap sisters. They threaten mothers. I disappeared from your life to keep you out of mine. My mother was shaking her head, her carefully applied makeup starting to run. You could have told us something. Anything. No, I couldn't. And I still can't tell you most of what I do. I picked up her handbag and handed it to her. What you saw today, me showing up looking like this, that was me coming straight from an operation because Emma said Dad was dying. The bruises aren't from a pimp. They're from extracting intelligence asset from a hostile situation under enemy fire. The man in civilian clothes who'd first asked for my ID stepped forward. For what it's worth, he said, addressing my mother. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Webb, Marine Corps. I've worked with naval intelligence operations. What your daughter does, what Captain Hayes does, most people will never know about it. But it matters. It saves lives. My mother collapsed into a chair, her hands covering her face. The triage nurse finally spoke up. Your father is stable now, room 412. They moved him out of critical care about 20 minutes ago. The doctor says he's going to be okay. Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by the reminder of duty. The Admiral was waiting. The Taiwan Strait situation wouldn't wait for family reconciliation. I have to go, I said. But I'll come back. After this situation is resolved, I'll come back, and we'll talk. How long? Emma asked, her voice small. I don't know. Could be days, could be weeks. I looked at both of them, but I'll come back. That's a promise. As I walked toward the exit, my mother called out. Victoria. I turned. I'm sorry. Tears were streaming down her face now. I'm so sorry for what I said. For what I thought, I nodded once. I know. I'll call when I can. The officers fell into step beside me as we exited the hospital. The late afternoon sun was blinding after the fluorescent lights inside. A black SUV was waiting at the curb, engine running. Rough reunion? The captain asked quietly as we walked. Could have been worse, I said. At least nobody threw anything. He almost smiled. The Admiral wanted me to tell you that your security clearance has been elevated again. You're being read into something new. Something big. I climbed into the SUV, my body already shifting into the mental space required for crisis management. Behind me, in that hospital, my mother and sister were probably still processing the last 30 minutes of revelations. Ahead of me, in an operations center, somewhere, a situation was developing that needed my expertise. The girl they'd written off as a prostitute was actually the person who'd be coordinating naval intelligence. Operations in one of the most sensitive regions in the world. As we pulled away from the hospital, I caught a glimpse of Emma in the window of the 4th floor. She was waving. I lifted my hand in response, a small gesture of connection across a chasm that had just gotten a little bit narrower. My phone buzzed, the secure one, not the civilian device. The message was brief. Taiwan situation escalating. Asset compromised. Need your assessment ASAP. Admiral Pierce. I typed back a quick confirmation and pocketed the phone. 12 years of sacrifice. 12 years of being misunderstood. And finally, 12 years that had just been explained in the span of 15 minutes. Sometimes vindication comes in the most unexpected moments. Sometimes it comes in a hospital emergency room. Delivered by officers in dress whites, in front of the people who thought they knew you but never really did. The SUV accelerated toward the airfield, toward the next crisis, toward the life I'd chosen over family understanding. But this time, I'd be able to come back. This time, they'd finally know the truth.